a conversation around like gender roles. That was definitely a motivation, and just having women be able to explore their sexuality in whatever way they see fit. Not necessarily having sex with everybody, of course, but like however they see that.
And I'm catching feelings, baby.
What's up, beautiful people? It's Hershe Sundae, and I'm back with the scoop after dark. How are you? No, really, how are you? Well, I hope that this month has been treating you kind. And whether you're driving to pick up the kids, preparing dinner for yourself or your family, folding laundry that never seems to end, or maybe just taking a few minutes to yourself before the day winds down, I want you to know that you are welcome here, you are safe here, and I'm happy to have you. Now, as I mentioned in my previous episode, March is Women's History Month, and I wanted to use my platform this month to amplify the voices of women and to highlight their stories, their creativity, their experiences, and the things that they bring into this world. And if you haven't checked out that previous episode, I need you to tootsie roll on over and do so. And don't forget to like, share, follow, and comment. Subscribe to The Scoop with Hershe Sunday After Dark. I'm on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Your support means the world to me, and it does help the platform grow. Now, Scoops, we got some company tonight. Okay, so I need y'all to behave. Okay, don't act up in front of company. Today we have a special guest joining us, a Chicago native. Okay, so clap for that. Arnetta Randall is the author of Have Sex Like a Man. And you know, I always love when we get to highlight talent from our hometown. So shout out to all the Chicago creatives. Shout out to you, Arnetta, okay, who is a graduate of the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, where she studied creative writing. And her goal as a writer is to take meaningful subjects and turn them into engaging commercial fiction, which brings us back to her novel, Have Sex Like a Man. Miss Arnetta, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so happy to have you.
And thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I want to ask a few questions about yourself. So, for the people who may be just getting introduced to you tonight, who is Arnetta Randall? And tell us a little bit about yourself beyond the bio.
Well, I would say ever since I was young, I wanted to be a writer. And I always thought that I, would be like the New York Times bestselling author. And so on my journey as an artist, I actually started creating like short films and web series. And so these days, I guess I'd say I'm a writer and producer. I could definitely, this is one of those books of mine that I can see being a movie one day. But yes, my first love is writing books and now writing scripts and making movies. So my artist journey has like ventured away from like my original path, but it's come back in a way, I should say. So this is the first book that I published, and I'm just looking forward to seeing it out there in the world.
And I love that you said it kind of branched off from the original purpose, but it circled back around. I think that that's just a creative process with a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? I think that, when you're creative, you have so many great ideas and so many lanes that you can explore. So being a Chicago native, where in Chicago did you grow up? And how do you feel that the city shaped your storytelling?
Okay, well, I grew up on the South Side in Inglewood, and that's where I spent, of course, like all my formative years. And then I went to Urbana for undergrad. And when I came back, I basically lived in different parts of the city, like on the west side, on the north side. And so I feel like in my 20s, I really, really became a Chicagoan because I kind of saw other aspects of my city. Let me see. How does it shape me? I'm such a city person, and I realize that when I go to other places and it's not as like fast or yeah, it's like we just have a certain like energy that's a very busy energy, and I feel like I really like that. And so I'm very reluctant to like move away to other places because I just really like Chicago.
Have you ever lived elsewhere temporarily at all, or have you been primarily in Illinois?
For graduate school, I went to Columbia, so I did New York, which is also a very amazing city. It's probably like the most comparable city to Chicago, but even faster if that's, And then our city is, I did a stint in New Orleans, which was great. the weather it takes a lot to get used to
It's hot.
that amount of heat. Chicago, we're warm for like 3 months tops, and then it's over. But yeah, New Orleans was a type of heat. I was like, oh my God. I did Texas for a bit, also very hot, very nice, but it just didn't have like that energy that I wanted. But if I would move anywhere, it would probably be New York. It would be the only other place that
It's
I
kind
could
of
see
parallel
myself
to
living for
Chicago.
real.
Yeah,
Yes.
I can get that. And I visited New York. I haven't been to Texas yet, but I visited New York, and it does have kind of similarities of the fast pace of Chicago, or being able to, that city
Hmm.
vibe, get whatever you wanted, whatever time of day or night. But it's something about home, and it's something about our skyline that I'm just like, y'all don't
It's
compare.
beautiful.
Y'all don't compare. Well, I love to hear that. Okay, so you study creative writing at University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. Was writing always something you loved growing up, or did you discover it as a passion later? I think you kind of touched on it a little bit.
Oh, yes, I was always like, I'm going to be a writer ever since I was young. And then like the young authors competitions, like I was always um, very dead set on being a writer. It was never really like a something else I wanted to do. I wanted to be like Terry McMillan. I was like, because she had like books and movies. And so I wanted that type of career. Just kind of funny to think about. Like, why are you reading Terry McMillan?
That it
We was
has to
just doing,
start
I was like just a
somewhere.
kid, just doing something. Like, why are you reading Terry McMillan? You don't know, you can't relate to any of this that's happening in this book right now. But that was kind of funny.
I think later in life we visit, at least I do, because I was doing the same thing, girl. I'm up here just watching movies I ain't supposed to at a young age,
Basically, it's
and all that.
like,
But when you get older, you visit those movies, and I think that is attributed to great writing, is when you can revisit at the age that the writer
mm,
or artist age at that time, and you can relate. You can see same things have been happening. Nothing has changed too much. Was there a specific aha moment where you was like, yeah, I gotta go for this? Or you were just so inspired by something? You did mention Terry McMillan, but was it a particular part where you were like, yeah, I have to go for this full throttle?
well, being an artist, you always kind of are skeptical of like, is this something that I can pursue? So I feel like
Mm-hmm.
in undergrad, I kind of like, I did like law school tours, and I was like going to take the LSAT because, it just felt like that's a real career. This is
Mm-hmm.
something you could really do. And I was studying for the LSAT and going on those law school tours, and I was like, yeah, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. It didn't pull you.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, this is like not gonna happen because I was like really into politics, and I was like, maybe I can be a politician one day. And no, I was like, if I am a politician one day, it will not be through law school. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
that is not the calling of my life. So that was one of the first moments when I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to pursue writing. Like, I can't see myself being a lawyer and then just working different type of jobs and being like, okay, this is cool, but this is still not what I want to do. And so then I just end up going back to grad school to kind of really like flesh out my ability to write.
I'm glad that it was something that you did explore other avenues of career, but I'll circle back to what you love. I think that
I
that's a
did.
blessing. Some people unfortunately don't get that opportunity for different reasons. They have to do certain careers, maybe family pressure. Your community may not be as supportive, especially when it comes to the art. Like you said, a secure job, and what's secure nowadays anyway as far as careers go, right? But a secure job, being a lawyer, what have you, might be what some family members push you. I didn't How was your family as far as the support of your writing? Were they supportive? Were they kind of like, you need something to fall back on? How did that go?
I would say my family was always pretty supportive of it. I would say my mother was, she came on board, I would say a little bit later. I would say
Mm-hmm.
she probably wasn't. She was supportive, but it still kind of be like, hey, there's other avenues. But I think like once you start like pursuing it yourself, like once you start like really, putting yourself out there, like I said, I was making web series. So once you start like doing something that people can see,
Yeah.
then they kind of
Yeah.
come on board like, oh, okay, you're serious about being a writer. You're serious about making art. And I feel like that makes people more like, because, it's easy to talk and say, hey, I want to be an artist, and people like the first thing I say is like, what have you done? And they want to see something. They want to see something tangible. So I think like
Exactly.
once you get into the space where you're actually creating and putting things out there into the world, then that support kind of comes like, oh, okay, you're serious. You're going to do this.
Exactly. No, you're absolutely right. And I mean, they within good reason. They mean well, but I think,
Hmm.
like everyone says, like the vision that you have is your vision. It's just it's yours. So
Yes.
they'll eventually see it and catch on and support. So that's good that she was able to come on board. Let's get into this book. What was the spark behind this book? I Have Sex Like a Man. What was there a specific moment or conversation or experience that made you say, okay, this needs to be a story? So what was the spark of this?
The spark of it, it's just those like late night conversations with friends. And
Mm-hmm.
basically everybody is going through their like man problems and like this happened. And I was always kind of interested in like gender norms and sexuality and how does that show up, for Black women. And it's just like
Mm-hmm.
the different pressures that they can be under to always appear a certain way. Like you can't do this because you're a Black woman, and you like if you say, oh, you're a Christian, then you can't be like dating, and if you're dating, you can't be this. So it's just always
Mm-hmm.
those binaries that people wanted to keep women in, and I'm just interested in exploring that.
That's a good point. And it kind of ties into the next question I wanted to ask you, the title. When you came up with the concept and the title, were you afraid that people would raise their eyebrows? Were you nervous about how people may react to it? Because it's pretty straightforward. Like having sex like a man, that's pretty much like, and you know how these men be cutting up. So it's kind of like, girl, what we busting it open in front of everybody? Like, did you have an initial like, am I going too far? Or was it like, no, people need to know this needs to be in their face? Because that's what caught my attention. I'm being honest. I said,
He was like, wait a
yeah,
minute, what's
I like
happening?
it.
And what is so funny is I wrote this book like years ago actually,
Mhm.
and that was my apprehension of putting out a book with this type of title. Like, what are people going to think about it? They're going to think this is just simply a book about sex, which it definitely is not. So actually, it just took me a really long time to actually like put the book out. And for a while, it just seemed, it seemed like we were progressing like as a society in the way we
Mhm.
were talking about things. And now recently, it's felt like the opposite. Like we're
Yes.
regressing, and
Yes. Yes.
people are talking about like less freedom. And so I
Mhm.
thought, like, strangely enough, that it was like the right time to put the book out. No matter if I did have that initial apprehension, I was like, I think it's more worth it to be out in the world to
Because
get
it's
over my fear.
necessary. The main character, Chloe Howard, is navigating dating, heartbreak, and career pressure all at one time. How much of Chloe's world was inspired by real life, either your own experiences or things you've observed?
It was probably inspired a lot by my life, and considering that, yes, trying to be an artist, at least in a traditional sense, is a very like long process for a lot of artists. And then once you add Blackness into it, it's just a whole nother level of
Mm-hmm.
being Black in publishing and wanting to be a writer. And then the pressures of having like to write certain things. It's like, okay, you're a Black artist and you need to be writing about race, pretty much. Like that is the
Mm-hmm.
stories that everybody kind of wants you to tell. And it's like, I don't really want to write about, I mean, I'm going to write about race because I can't escape it, but I definitely want to write more lighthearted relational stories, comedy stories. So a lot of the things that show up for Chloe actually, like, yes, shows up for me as well.
I think we are oversaturated a lot of times with a lot of the traumas. And it's not that you can't tell a real story, because
Hmm.
things do happen. But I love that there's different perspectives and there's humor. The premise of the book is a woman deciding to approach intimacy the way men traditionally have without emotional commitment. Do you think women are actually capable of separating the emotion from intimacy the way men often are perceived to be able to do?
That's kind of what I was interested in exploring in the book. Like, is this
Mm,
possible for women to do? And a lot of the ways I feel like women approach relationships is pretty much because like her, they're socialized to approach relationships. So we have two different things happening at one time. You have been like guys being told to like sow their oats, and then you have women being like find you a husband. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
realistically, somewhere you have to meet in the middle. Like, she can't
Mm-hmm.
be looking for a husband, you looking to sow your oats. So it was just trying to like explore that dichotomy of like these two things are happening at one time. And so feeling like the women are getting the short end of the stick because
Mm-hmm.
you are a 20 something trying to settle down, dating a 20 something man who was not trying to settle
Yeah,
down.
he
So
trying to tootsie roll all over the place and have a good time.
exactly. So it was just an attempt to just explore that and actually kind of like be inspired by like some of the conversations I was having with like friends and the things that they were kind of going
Mm-hmm.
through. I just
Okay.
thought it would be an interesting social experiment just to explore.
Speaking of which, it goes and ties into the next question. One thing that I found interesting is the ethical tension in the story. Chloe is using her friends' experiences for her career success. Were you intentionally exploring those themes, kind of ambition versus loyalty?
Definitely.
Mm.
Because I mean, she kind of opens with like her like breakup and with her like career woes and kind of being reluctant to I guess you could say betray her friends in a way,
Mm-hmm.
but still kind of being overpowered by like, I want to be successful and if this is gonna help me, then I'm gonna do it. And I think those are kind of like the ethical questions that we kind of have to ask ourselves when you live in like even just capitalism, you
Mm-hmm.
always are making, hey, I need to make a living, but this may not be the most
Ethical.
ethical way to
Mm-hmm.
make said living.
Mm-hmm. I think we face that a lot, especially with creatives, because we get so much inspiration from life being lived or what we observe. It's a very narrow road to kind of take because you want to be authentic to what
Yes.
your experiences are, but you also are trying not to throw like the people who have lived those experiences under the bus.
Mhm.
A la the best man of Sharon, he done put
Exactly.
all his friends out there, child, and next thing you know, he getting tossed about because it done hit close to home.
Also, like, have that idea of like selling out too is also goes along with like blackness. Like, how are you authentically showing blackness in your art? Like,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of, or like even the idea of selling out because you're working with a company that has been anti-black. So you have like a
Mm-hmm.
lot more things to kind of like navigate.
It's layered. And I think it is just kind of what your ethics are. Some things you can compromise on, but some things you do have to draw your line in the sand. What do you hope readers will take away from this story once they finish it? Is it something that's purely for entertainment, or are there deeper conversations you hope that will spark from this?
Definitely conversation around like gender roles.
Mm.
That was definitely a motivation, and just having women be able to explore their sexuality in whatever way they see fit. Not necessarily having sex with everybody, of course, but
Mm-hmm.
like however they see that fit. Like they be
Mm-hmm.
able to like casually date and not necessarily always have the pressure of like settling down, being a mother. Like that may not be
Mm-hmm.
the journey for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. And kind of I just being in a world that's more accepting of women don't want those things and don't desire to necessarily, be a mother or be somebody's wife right out the bat. Like, also want to like date. And I
So
guess in
their
some ways
own
also
royal
explore.
oats. Yeah.
Yeah. So also, so their oats, in a way, it's like,
Yeah.
want the women off, settle down, and the men are just out here like living their lives. And you're just like, everybody should be able to like date and see what they like and don't like
Yeah.
without being judged for it.
Yeah. And I like that that's the conversation. I see it online a lot more that people are being very verbal about either not wanting to be married or not wanting children. I think that for years, and I mean, it's still the case now for a lot of people, you're shamed into these roles, not having these
Mm-hmm.
roles or not maintaining these roles if you've been married before. Even the sense of children, um, if you have them later in life or decide not to have them at all. If you have just one, that's a problem
Mm-hmm.
because why don't you have two and three? If you just have a girl, well, where's this? You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah, it's
always that
always
goalpost
something.
moving, and it's
Every single
like,
time, like you said, once you actually do get the husband in, it's like, where your
yeah,
kids at? And then you have one kid, and it's like, why you don't have two kids? And then it's like,
yeah,
okay, then why you ain't doing it? It's like, okay, like you never get a chance to just
nobody's
be done.
happy. No,
Yeah.
and if you somehow hit the golden ticket of having it all, you falling off the bone because you're trying to maintain all of these roles, and you're
Hmm.
losing yourself, or at least that's what I hear for a lot of women. You're
Yeah.
losing yourself. So yeah, I love that conversation, and it needs to be had, and it does need to be let women have the same, what's good for the goose is good for the gander type of situation. Explore
Hmm.
and find out what they actually like too. Writing a novel is no small task. What was the biggest challenge you faced while bringing the story to life?
Like he's saying, getting that discipline to like write every day is probably like the hardest part of the journey. There used to be a competition, it probably still happens. It was called like Nano, but you
Hmm.
like write a book in a month. So the goal was like you write like 50,000 words in like the month of November.
Hmm.
And actually, to get this book done, I actually did that challenge. And so I kind of went from like having like 10,000 words to like 60,000 words because I had actually did the challenge.
That is amazing.
So after doing that, it kind of was like way easier for me actually to write
Hmm.
books. Like I'm able to like sit, make my outlines and just write a certain amount of words a day and kind of like stick to it for the most part.
I love that. So, for the aspiring writers listening
Hmm.
to us right now, listening to you right now, especially the women who have stories in their heads and they haven't started writing, what advice would you give them?
I'm an outline person.
Hmm.
I feel like that keeps you on track and for me, it's like when I have an outline and I kind of know what every like subject I want to talk about, every scene I want to write. Even sometimes if I don't want to write it in a linear way and I'm not feeling the next scene, but I'm looking at my outline, I'm like, I'm kind of in that space today, and I think I can write this scene. So I'm an outline girly. I don't like to just go in and just write. There's some people who can do that. I'm feeling like the outlines for me, it gives me a way better like structured writing experience.
Now, because it's Women's History Month, I want to ask you this. What does it mean to you as a Black woman to contribute your voice and perspective to the literary world?
I mean, it means a lot actually. Like when you grow up reading for the most part, we're reading at school, it's like everybody you read is white.
Hmm.
And so for me, like once I like got out of school and it was like wanted to read like writers, I just made a point to like only read like women and then only read like Black women at certain points in my life. So it means a lot to me because I do want, like people to be able to read my books. This is not one of them. I do, right? I write YA. I have like a YA book and I have like short stories that are more like, kid teen friendly. And so I do want, even like younger women to be able to like see themselves and be like, this is a career that they can actually do.
And finally, for everyone listening who wants to support you and check the book out, where can they purchase Have Sex Like a Man and where can they follow you online to keep up with what you're doing?
Okay. You can get my book on TikTok Shop, Amazon, and my website, which is randallmediacompany.com. And you can follow me at Randall Media on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, anything Randall Media.
Love that. Love it. Love it. Okay, Arnetta, thank you so much for spending time with me, for spending time with us, the Scoops. I appreciate your time. Go ahead and snatch up Have Sex Like a Man. Follow her, support her. I want to thank you all for tuning in again. I thank you for your time. And as always, wherever you are tonight, be gentle with your heart. And I'll speak to you soon after dark. Peace.